Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Lilian began designing and building her own plane at her uncle's workshop in 1910. Lilian planned Northern Ireland's remarkable pioneer Aviator. Continue watching to find out more.
No to vegan, 'cause cruelty is just your nature, isn't it?
In the pristine Kabardino-Balkaria Republic, you may be greeted with Kun Alçıbolsun, that means hello in Karachay-Balkar, one of the official languages. Loving viewers, I'm Klim. The faithful people of the Kabardino-Balkarian Republic welcome your friendship and wish you a bright and cheerful day. In today's program, we'll find out about Lilian Plan, Northern Ireland's remarkable pioneer aviator. Lilian Emily Bland was one of the first women in the world to design, build, and fly an airplane. She was born at Willington House near Maidstone, Kent, in England on September 28, 1878, to an affluent family. By the age of 20, she had studied art in Paris and music in Rome. Following the passing of her mother in 1906, Lilian and her father John moved to Tubercuran House, the family home in Carnmoney near Belfast in Ireland. Lilian took up photography, taking pictures of the birds on Carnmoney Hill, her favorite place in County Antrim. Unconventional for a young woman in the Edwardian period, Lilian would dress in breeches and enjoyed tampering with motor car engines. She was skilled in riding horse people and proficient at many traditionally male-dominated sports. In 1908, Lilian Bland worked as a sports journalist and press photographer for London newspapers. She had a great sense of humor and was widely admired for her photographic skills. That summer, during her stay with friends in Scotland, Lilian spent most of her time studying and recording the flight of the local seagull people. Every morning, she would travel by boat to a secluded island and hike up the cliffs. There she would spend the day dreaming of flying high across the sky. Fascinated by flight, her first experience was in a glider, piloted by her boyfriend. He would not, however, let Lilian take control of the aircraft. Her aspirations in aviation were boosted when her uncle sent her a postcard of renowned pioneer pilot Louis Blériot's monoplane with its dimensions. She wrote to Louis Blériot pleading to travel with him as a passenger in his next flight across the channel. When her request was dismissed, she decided to build her own glider. In 1909, Lilian Bland attended the first official aviation meeting in Blackpool, England. Taking detailed notes of the measurements and dimensions of the aircrafts on display, she observed the aviators in flight, noting they keep their heads to the wind and turn a corner by drifting round tail first. Having read all the books and magazines on aviation she could find, Lilian began designing and building her own plane at her uncle's workshop in 1910. Lilian's first model plane was a 6-foot wingspan biplane glider, which she flew as a kite. Encouraged by her success, Lilian set to work on a full-sized glider. She used steamed ash to bend the glider into shape, emulating the wings of the seagull people she had studied in Scotland. For the ribs and stanchions, Lilian used spruce. The outriggers were made of bamboo. To keep the engine bed secure, she fastened it with wires attached to the upper and lower wings. The pilot's canvas seat was enclosed and secured by 4 straps, and the fuel tank was housed in the chassis. For the controls, Lilian used a bicycle handlebar. The glider weighed 200 pounds and had a wingspan of 20 feet and 7 inches. Lilian named her first glider Mayfly. It had its trial flight on the slopes of Carnmoney Hill with the help of 4 members of the Royal Irish Constabulary and a young man named Joe Blaine, who worked for Lilian's aunt tending the gardens. As the wind took Mayfly up into the air, all 5 men hung onto it. As the 4 constables promptly let go, Joe Blaine hung on to bring Mayfly back down to the ground. Lilian concluded that the glider could manage the weight of an engine. Lilian bought a 2-stroke air-cooled 20-horsepower engine from an aircraft company in Manchester. She picked the engine up herself, traveling in the boat train from England to Ireland. There was no petrol tank, so Lilian used an empty glass bottle as a substitute and her deaf aunt's ear trumpet as a fuel feeder. At first, the engine was slow to start, so Lilian fitted a T-bar yoke and a tricycle undercarriage to strengthen the biplane. As the Carnmoney field was too small for the Mayfly's first flight, it was moved to a local landowner Lord O'Neill's 800-acre Shane's Castle estate near Randallstown. In August 1910, Joe Blaine stood between the tail booms to start the engine by swinging the propeller. After a few faltering hops, the Mayfly flew to an altitude of 30 feet and remained in the air for a quarter of a mile. Delighted, Lilian wrote several letters to Flight magazine describing her experiences and discussing various design features in detail. Following the success of the first flight, Lilian continued to experiment with more flights and to improve the design of the Mayfly. She intended to start a business selling biplanes and gliders, but her father persuaded her not to and gifted her a Ford Model T car to encourage her to follow other pursuits. Lilian then taught herself to drive and became a Ford agent in Northern Ireland. The Mayfly eventually ended up in a boys' club, and its engine is in the Science Museum in London.
Because animals' meat mostly contains viruses, so when one eats the meat, the virus will follow in and destroy our body. Teachings of the Saints, Cowdaism.
Let's take a moment to appreciate and give thanks to the benevolent, ever-smiling sun that lights up our skies. We'll be right back here on Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to Lilian Bland, Northern Ireland's remarkable pioneer aviator. Lilian Bland married her cousin Charles Loftus Bland in October 1911 and emigrated to Vancouver Island in Canada. They established a farm and Lilian enjoyed living off the land. Inspired by the life around her, she took over 400 photographs of majestic trees, indigenous First Nation peoples, and vegetables from the garden. Lilian and Charles had a daughter, Patricia. In 1935, Lilian returned to Kent, where she lived with her brother Captain Robert Bland until she retired to Cornwall in 1955 with gardening and painting as her main interest. Lilian Bland passed away on May 11, 1971 at the age of 92 years. She was buried in the churchyard in Sennen near Land's End. To celebrate the centenary of Lilian Bland's maiden flight from Shane's Castle estate, the Randallstown Historical Society hosted an illustrated lecture on August 31, 2010. A memorial plaque was unveiled in the railway station building of Deer Park. As a lasting legacy to the celebrated aviator, on August 24, 2011, Glengormley Park was renamed Lilian Bland Community Park and a sculpture of her biplane Mayfly was officially unveiled. Designed by Skelton Rainey, the stainless steel sculpture is a full-size representation of Lilian's biplane. It is also a children's play item in the park. The event was attended by Lilian's grandnephew, Reverend Edward Pratt, and grandniece Imogen Holmes, who remembers her great-aunt fondly, saying she seemed to be top of her tree in everything she did. She was always very successful. She had enormous energy. We all had to behave when she was around. In 2021, an exhibition at the Ulster Transport Museum in Culture Belfast, Northern Ireland, featured Lilian Bland as an innovator with global influence. The curator of the museum, Claire Ablett, said,
It is only in recent years that Lilian Bland's story has come to life. She did not conform to Edwardian-era rules and would not let restriction on her femininity hold her back in any way. She never let anything hold her back. Lilian is very inspiring, and not just for young girls and women, for anyone. She was quite an amazing woman. I think the more people told her that she couldn't do it, the more she wanted to do it, and I think that's an inspiration for people today.
Claire Ablett added,
We want to inspire the next generation of young scientists and engineers, both girls and boys. It should be open to everybody, and I really hope that we're starting to move away from the idea that those sorts of professions are only for men.
Aviation historian Guy Warner welcomed Lilian Bland's renewed recognition, saying,
Lilian was forgotten because she was in Ireland, an obscure part of the world in 1910, and because she was a woman. She was expected to marry well and run a household, not to do the tremendous things she did.
With admiration and respect, we pray that Lilian Bland's amazing achievements continue to inspire people to pursue their dreams for the betterment and advancement of our world.
Vegan side effect. Hell runs away from you.
We appreciate your loving company today, adventurous viewers. May the divine light show you the way through life's glorious journey.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/MOS.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule et suprememastertv.com/MOS.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule y suprememastertv.com/MOS.
Naše programy nabízejí více jazyků. Prosím navštivte suprememastertv.com/schedule a suprememastertv.com/MOS.